everyone. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of the Spook Notes podcast, where we get academic about everything that goes bump in the night. My name is Marlena.
My name's Connor.
And on today's episode, we will be talking about the best horror films of 2018.
Yes.
Yes!
I'm very excited about this. This is something that me and Marlena have been planning for a while and wanting to do for a while. And it's the end of the year when everybody ranks what they thought the best of the year was and talks about what they thought the best of the year was.
And what they're going to be looking forward to in 2019.
Exactly, and what's coming up in 2019. So I'm very excited to kind of give you guys our opinions on what we thought were the best horror films of this year.
Yeah.
Which I thought there were a few good horror films. I mean...
Oh, absolutely.
I felt like we were going to the theater a lot more to see horror films. There was a lot more big movies out in the theaters. And then there was a lot of horror films that were really good that we saw on, like, Netflix and Shudder and, you know, more, like, independent kind of things.
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely.
It's kind of a good mix this year. I thought it was a strong year for horror. There were definitely some big, like we said, some big blockbusters and some smaller stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also just excited to compare lists with you and to talk about it with you, because we haven't even told each other what our lists are.
No, it is a surprise.
So, what we're going to be doing for this episode, the way we're going to do it, is we're going to each give our top 5 of the year. We're going to do it one at a time so we can kind of compare and talk about it and kind of share with each other what we have.
And we're going to start off at our number 5 movie and then work our way to number one that we both think is the best, really.
Then we also will share a few honorable mentions, and we'll end the podcast off by giving some things that we're looking forward to in the new year. Yeah.
And obviously, guys, this is our own opinions. This is no way, like, you know, influenced by the general public or really anything like that. It's just our own personal opinions.
I've actually really tried to not look at any best of the year lists so far, to not get kind of influenced. Like, that's why I'm also excited after this episode to look at other people's lists to see how mine compared. But I didn't ask you, I didn't look at anybody else's, and I just tried to really think about what were the movies I liked the best this year.
Well, that's good, because you don't want your opinion to be swayed.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's just get right into it, you know?
Exactly. So, Marlene, would you like to go first?
Indubitably, yes.
So, what was your 5th favorite horror movie of 2018?
Okay, so my 5th horror movie of 2018 was The Terrifier.
Okay. Before you go any further, also, I forgot to say, guys, the other thing we're doing is because sometimes movies come out at different times, because Terrifier debuted in 2017, but all of the movies we chose were movies that had their wide release in 2018. So even though Terrifier was at festivals and things like that in 2017, we considered it a 2018 film because it didn't get a wide release to the general public until this year. Yeah,
no, there's a few movies like on this list that I'm going to be talking about that do have that, but guys, trust me, they came out in 2018.
We consider it when it's available to the general public, that's when it released.
Yeah, that's our criteria for this.
So anyways, Terrifier, number 5.
Yeah, Terrifier, okay. Well, basically we're just going to say, like, why did we like it?
Yeah, so what did you like?
Okay, so I'm not usually scared of clowns. Like, I'm not that kind of person. But this movie really did it for me in that sense that it made me scared of the main character, like, Art, right? Like, I was terrified of this guy, thus the name Terrifier, lol. So, like, the story of this movie, it's not, like, super detailed or anything like that. It's more just, like, this crazy clown / mime is just going around just, like, killing people. Like, really, there's no backstory behind this. He's just doing it because he's, like, insane. I really liked it because of the brutality and the gore with the kills. Definitely a lot of interesting ways to kill people. I don't know. Like, the one that really stands out in my mind is when the chick's upside down and he's, like, sawing her in half. Like, that's just disgusting. But at the same time, I really like that because I'm like, whoa, wow, right? Also, for this movie, I found it very suspenseful. And that kind of ties in with the brutality of the kills. Like, it's like, oh god, is he really gonna do this? Maybe something will stop him. But this guy's just flipping insane and he doesn't care. And he'll just kill you, basically. So, I would actually like to know more about Art the Clown and who he is and why he became. So maybe they're gonna, come up with another movie off of this one.
Well, one thing I'll say I found in this year is that I feel like that character of Art is like really in the horror community. Like everybody has like shirts with him on it and
Yeah.
like stuff like that. So
He's very memorable.
He has
like,
the
with
popularity
his,
for certain to get a sequel.
Yeah.
And I know there was another movie that didn't like it wasn't just about him, but it featured him.
Yeah, yeah.
But I definitely think that they'll make another one.
Yeah,
sure.
No, I would love it and put it on Netflix so that I can watch it very easily from the comfort of my own home.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's kind of my fifth movie or the fifth ranking. What's yours, Connor?
My number 5 is Revenge. So
remind me.
You have not seen it.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
It's don't worry, it's the only movie on my list that you haven't seen.
Nice.
But I actually think you should definitely check it out. So Revenge is actually, it's almost like there's a lot of people I feel like who wouldn't classify it as a true horror film. It's more of like a thriller revenge movie. But it's horrific in its themes and its kind of content, but also like the idea of it. So basically what is about is a very simple movie actually. There's a guy who is like a hunter and he owns this really like kind of like large estate in the middle of like the desert. I think it's supposed to be the Grand Canyon, like nearby the Grand Canyon, but like it's just kind of like this desert area. And then he's married, but he has this like other fling with him who's kind of like this like maybe 19, 20-year-old girl who he's like making love to. And then his two friends come who are going hunting with him. And basically one thing leads to another, and the one friend rapes the girl. And then to cover up what they did, the main guy pushes the girl off a cliff, and then she lands on a tree stump and is like impaled.
Ooh.
But she actually survives, and then the rest of the movie is you kind of watch this girl who's kind of like this like kind of like fluffy teenage like young girl turn into like this like badass killer as she like hunts down these guys and kills them off one by one.
Wow.
And it's like this really intense movie that's super violent and like tons of blood and stuff like that. But also it has like themes, especially present to like 2018, like with like the Me Too movement and like all the women coming out about these kinds of things, and it feels very 2018, and in that sense I think it's a very appropriate movie for this year, and it's just really well made. And like I said, it's not like pure horror, but it will scare you in its ideas and its themes and it's what it's about.
Well, most definitely. I think that would be terrifying from every angle, either being raped or like being impaled by a tree, like.
And like it at no point does it ever kind of glorify the violence or the rape or anything like that. It's all very like.
It's like justified in a way, right? Like
it's bleak and it's kind of it's gross, and it doesn't focus on the woman, it focuses on the man, and and the kind of like what he's doing and stuff like that. And
cool.
Yeah, at the same time it's also just really well shot, like a lot of cool use of color, and like the landscape of it is really cool. Like the desert atmosphere and setting is really cool. So it's if you haven't watched it, you should check it out, and I definitely think you should watch it as well.
Where is it? Like, where can I find it?
I saw it on Shudder.
Shudder, okay.
So
well, I know what to watch next.
So moving on to number 4.
Number 4 is, for me, The Ritual.
Okay.
Which is also another movie that you can find on Netflix. So, I really like this movie. However, it did share some similar themes from like the Blair Witch Project. So I wouldn't say it has an entirely unique story. Obviously, there's still some similarities to other movies. But, in the sense that it was like the way it was filmed and the story, like it's obviously a lot different. than Blair Witch because, you know, it has this creature in it, has this cult, so I give it that. Like, it is different. But I would say, at least for the first half of the movie, it's, in my view, pretty much identical to the Blair Witch because they're just stumbling around lost, basically. I really, really liked the creature in this movie. I thought its design was very like original and unique. And when I was reading up on this movie a lot more and learning more about like the character, so the character or like the creature, sorry, is based off of Norse folklore, and in the movie they refer to it as Jaun or Jadun or something.
Yeah,
Which is basically like a child of Loki and like Mother Earth and stuff like that. And I really like that because it connects with the movie and them being in the forest, and I think that's really good. And what I actually didn't know is that this movie is based on a book, which is also falling under the same name, The Ritual. And in the book, the creature is actually referred to as Mordor, which means mother in Old English and in Norse language. So I thought that was like pretty cool. I was like, oh wow, it's Mother Nature, like, wow. Um, what I also really liked about this movie, that for me anyway, it's scary in the sense that, okay, like, if you're in a forest and you're getting injured and you're getting lost, like, that's really scary to me. Like, we went camping, like, what was it, 2 years ago? Last year? Something like
2 years
that.
ago.
And I was just like, oh my god, never again. Like, what if we get lost? And like, you know, we ended up getting injured on our camping trip, and it's very real, like those fears, you know. And it's, especially when I watch this movie, I'm like, holy shit, like this is actually really scary.
And just getting lost in the woods, and you know that kind of, and it does play on the same fears as the Blair Witch Project, and I think I really liked both of them. I will say that it isn't in my top five, but it is one of my honorable mentions, and I really, really liked it as well. I just thought it was really scary and effective, and I like how they built up to the terror. How it started very low key.
Lol.
How it started very
That's good.
small, and then it got bigger as it went on, and I just think it was really well done. And again, I like the fact that it was on Netflix, and it showed how this year was like a lot of the horror we watched in our own home, and you know,
Yeah.
and I feel like seeing it on the big screen would have been cool, but also the fact that we watched it in that intimate setting.
Yeah. No, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I really enjoyed about that movie is just like the imagery it kind of portrayed, especially when, you know, you'd see like the animals and the bodies and stuff like impaled to trees. I think that really sticks with you. And I don't know, just the creature in itself is really like grotesque and just abnormal.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember, it was inspired by the works of Guillermo del Toro, right? Or it was somebody
Well,
with,
it was very like similar to that kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and speaking of him and Mike Flanagan, they actually, you know, gave this movie a little props, saying it was a well-made movie. So
I believe it.
yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
Okay, well that kind of wraps it up for my fourth spot. What about you?
My number 4
Nervous laughter.
is my number 4. Only 4 is Halloween.
Really? No.
Yeah.
Holy smokes! I was not expecting that, guys.
So I feel like you need to get this out of the way. So I knew that when I saw Halloween in the theater, this was going to be in my top 5. I didn't know where, but I knew it was going to be there simply because I really do feel like this year was the year of Halloween. Like, it was the 40th anniversary of the original. This new movie was coming out. All this, it was like, you know, the entire year leading up to the new movie was all. I feel like Halloween this year, the new movie was the big movie of the year. Like, that more than anything. And I really liked it. It's number 4 on my top 5, so still pretty good.
Oh yeah. Considering we watch a lot of movies.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I didn't put it higher, however, because there were other movies. When I think of the movies I really liked, it's the movies that I keep thinking about. I keep coming back to. I keep recommending to other people. And I certainly did keep thinking about this movie and recommending it to other people. But at the same time, I really enjoyed watching it. But I feel like as I left the theater and the further away from it I got,
you didn't like it as much.
not that I didn't like it, I just stopped caring about it as much. Because it was such a big deal going into it, and the hype was so huge around it, that after I watched it and then had some time away from it, I stopped caring about it as much rather than some of these other films.
Okay.
So that's why it's not higher, but it's still 4 on my list. It's still really, really good.
Hello? Sorry, guys.
I still really liked it, and you know, it's definitely going to be the film that I think defines this year for the general public, just the same way that it was that last year in 2017.
No, that's true. That is true.
So yeah, and it's my number 4, and I have a pretty good idea that's going to be somewhere on your list. So I'm sure we'll talk about it some more.
Oh, what makes you say that?
All right, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is A Quiet Place. Okay, I really liked this movie. I thought it was really unique in its story, and it focused a lot more on the use of sound and the art of Foleying, which often kind of gets pushed aside in movie making. So I really, really like that, because when you think of movies, you think of it just being like super visual and all that stuff, and you kind of forget about the sound, right? And the importance of sound or the absence of sound. So I thought that movie did an excellent job because like there wasn't a lot of speaking, right? And usually in movies, either horror or just any other films, like you just think of sound as speaking. Well, no, sound is a lot more things, like crunching on leaves or flickering on a light or dropping something, right? Like that's really, really important. And I really thought that was well emphasized in A Quiet Place. So I really like that just because it's different. Also because it had a great cast, like including John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, and Millicent Simmons. And I really, really liked both John Krasinski and Emily Blunt because obviously they're married in real life. And for me, it was just very interesting to see them, work in a relationship also on screen. So I really liked that, and you could tell that they really cared about each other and all that, and it was just well reflected. And also, I really liked Millicent Simmons because she's actually deaf in real life.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like really awesome, like inclusive in a movie, and yeah, I don't know, I just thought it was really good.
Yeah. A Quiet Place, I thought, like you said, was really good, and I think that it was a cool kind of theater going social experience.
Like obviously it's not the best movie. Like I definitely think like the ending of the movie
Well, yeah, that was my thing. That's why it's not on my list and it's not in my honorable mentions, simply because
okay, don't get there yet.
The ending really did ruin it for me.
Okay, to be honest, I think it should have just ended when the kids run up to Emily Blunt, give her a hug and all that stuff.
After John Krasinski.
Yeah, and then just kind of leave it at that. Leave the viewer wondering what had happened afterwards to them. Have that suspense that lingers on. I think that's like really important.
Yeah.
But obviously they didn't do that. Yeah. It was almost perfect, guys. It was almost perfect.
I mean, I think it's a solid choice, and I think that a lot of other people really liked it this year. So
because it was just different. That's all. Something we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Or heard before. Ooh.
That's fine.
Okay, Connor, what falls in your number 3 little spot?
You're gonna shake your head or laugh or something.
Oh, Jesus.
My number 3 favorite horror movie of this year, and honestly would probably be top with favorite movies of this year, period, was Mandy.
Oh my god, why?
I loved Mandy.
Jesus.
Again, when I was doing this list, when I was making it, when I think about movies I like in general, it's what are the movies that stick with me? What are the movies that I think about days after I saw it? What are the movies that I recommend to people to go see? Mandy was like to me
a fucking drug trip.
It was, and that's what's amazing about it.
Oh my
god.
To
me, like I like a good story in a movie, and I think it's awesome, but I also like when a movie is just a piece of art. Like a visual piece of art I'm watching on screen. And that's what Mandy was. It was unlike anything I saw this year. It was totally unique. And
that's
honestly,
true. I'll give it that. It was unique.
Honestly, I think that it says something about how good that this year in horror was, because in any other year it may have been number 2 or even number 1. I really liked it. And it was the kind of movie that, like, again, you need to really think about it. Like, not that it's complex, but that I watched it and I wasn't really sure what I was seeing, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, I just appreciated it more. I appreciated its um the like I said, the visuals, but also just like how it used those visuals in a creative and unique ways to show what it would is like to be high almost. And when I think of the scene, one of my favorite scenes, I think of the scene when Mandy is drugged by the gang, by the cult, I should say, and she's having that conversation with their leader, and that kind of weird distortion and stuff, and then her face phases in and out of his, and stuff like that. And I just thought it was amazing, like unlike anything I've ever seen on film. In that sense, it was like it gave me a whole new appreciation of film in a way. And again, it's like looking at a piece of art.
That is true.
And
That is true. I'd have to give it to you with that. You know, often when we think of movies, we don't think of art. We just think of a story and a plot and characters, and that's it. But really, it is art when you break it down.
oh, absolutely. And then at the end of the day, like I also thought it was amazing in the sense that it was like a throwback to like 80s and 70s kind of fantasy and horror films, and it was just so creative in its art design. I think of the warriors on the bikes, how unique they looked, and then just how it combined so many genres. It was kind of like horror, but it was also fantasy and sci-fi at the same time.
That's true. I like honestly, I still can't really decipher what the fuck it was.
And I really love that about it. It doesn't fit into one thing perfectly.
Yeah.
It's like this anamorphous, constantly changing thing. And I think that I was just glad that it had the balls to go there. Like, it had the balls to give Nick Cage...
Well, first off, yeah, just casting Nick Cage, like...
Yeah. And it had the balls to give Nick Cage a 5-minute long scene where he's just screaming in a bathroom naked, almost naked. It had the balls to give him a battle axe. It had the balls...
No, it wasn't even a battle axe. It was like a full-on, like, forged sword thing. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Oh my god.
It, like, was a chainsaw fight. You know, there was... Oh my god, the guy from Predator was in it.
Yeah,
like,
you know what? Now I want to watch that movie again.
I know, and it is the kind of movie that you want to watch again because it's, again, I feel like movies that have a really good story are amazing, and they're the kind of movies that move us and are the reason we keep going back to film. But at the same time, if you have a movie that relies on story so much, once you've seen it once, then you know it, and you know the beats. But when it's a movie that relies on visuals, it's an experience, and you can experience that again and be amazed by it. So that's why Mandy was number 3 for me, and honestly could have been higher if it was in a worse year. But it was a really good year this year, and Mandy blew me away.
Like, that's the thing. When we first saw this movie in theaters, after it, I was like, what happened? And the more and more we talked about it, I'm like, you know what? It really isn't that bad. Like, it's not bad. It's like, it's good, actually.
It was my third favorite of the year.
That's awesome.
All right, Marlena, what's number 2?
Okay.
So we're getting down to the top 2
I know,
now.
this is the nitty-gritty. For me, it is Halloween. As Connor was saying, you know, like, there was a lot of hype around this movie, and to be completely honest with you, I wasn't let down. I was not let down by this movie.
That's awesome.
So, for me, it kind of brought back, like, the nostalgia, like, you know, seeing the original Halloween, and I was like, oh, how is this going to compare and everything like that. And also just because it was, like, 40 years in the future. And, like, with the Halloween series, it's kind of, like, really confusing. Because, you know, she dies, and she's back, and it's like, what?
And she dies again.
And like, Tom Adkins. I was like, what? So for me, it was good in the sense that right after the first movie, like, the original, like, 1978, this was 40 years after that movie. So it kind of was very linear and not confusing, as it normally is. And I really like that, right? I like the continuation, seeing, like, what's happening, like, in the future. And obviously, they're bringing back, like, the original characters, like Laurie Strode and Michael Myers and those kinds of people. So it was really interesting to see them kind of grow in age as a character. Like, what happened to Laurie Strode, like, you know, when she was younger, is still kind of present with her like 40 years in the future, right? Or however many, well, I guess 40 years in the future. And the same thing kind of goes with Michael Myers as well. And like the one thing I really, really liked about that movie was just seeing the relationship between Laurie and Michael. And I thought that was like really powerful, right? Because they, you know, they both really, really want to kill each other just so bad. It's like, please, just let one die.
Yeah.
And also, I really like this movie just because, like, you know, Laurie Strode is just like a friggin' badass, and I think we need that, like, in the horror community, especially for women, right? Like, they just gotta be a gun wielding badass.
Well, this
You
was
know?
another film that I thought I didn't say before, but also in that sense really fits into the 2018 mold because it really is another film that deals with like the Me Too and the women fighting back and the women trying to regain their strength and things like that. So
That's true.
in that sense, again, it is very prescient to this year and this time.
And like the one thing I really liked about that movie was just like the last scene where they like trap Michael. I really liked that. That was really creative. Offered a really nice twist. Another thing I really liked about this movie was the soundtrack and John Carpenter.
By John Carpenter, yes.
Because he was the musical producer for the first one and came up with the original theme and all that stuff.
And the second and the third.
And this, well, yeah, but more notably the first one. So it's just really interesting to have him back and have that like nostalgia, right? Like that thing you've connected with in the past.
I will say, not to interrupt you, but like I do think that one thing I will definitely say about this movie, the new Halloween, is it does a good job of you could just watch. Like I don't know because obviously we've seen them all, but like if you had just seen the first Halloween movie, you could watch this movie and it's a perfect
it's seamless. It's seamless. That's what I like. I don't like jumping around too much.
Yeah, so in that sense, like they do a good job of making it so that it is that connection both in its actual plot, but also in the themes and the things around it, like the John Carpenter score, as we discussed, and things like that.
Also, one last thing about the movie Halloween, I really liked it because it was released around Halloween time. And that's awesome because, you know, like it just adds to the overall, you know, feeling of being spooky and kooky and all the other things. And it's just nice. It was nice going to the theater and seeing a Halloween movie called Halloween.
Absolutely.
It was nice. It was very nice. All right, Connor, what is your second best for 2018?
My second best for 2018?
Yes.
Was The Haunting of Hill House.
Really?
I told you no.
Going to do this.
I told you we could do movies or TV, and then you said, "Oh, I don't want to do TV. I don't want to do TV."
Listen to me.
And I said, "All right."
We agreed on.
I agreed that you wouldn't have to do TV.
Then fetch.
But I'm doing this because I really like The Haunting of Hill House.
Because I can't change my list now.
Well, you know, you can put it in your honorable mentions.
Okay.
Because I know you really liked it as well.
I loved it. It was awesome.
I know.
Weirdo.
So I'm doing Haunting of Hill House as my number 2 because I think that. So we watched it together. We actually watched it a little late. We watched it in November.
Yeah.
Everybody else was like watching in October.
We're like uber hipster, so we you know had to do it off the mainstream.
Yeah. And so when I felt like we were watching this, and I felt like the first half of the season, we're like, oh, okay, it's good, yeah, it's good.
I even thought it was really good, just even how it was then.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't sure about it then, and I was kind of like, yeah, it's good. I see how it's good. We'll see how it goes later by the end. Episode 6 is what convinced me.
We need to talk about this.
Is what convinced me that it was my second favorite of the year. Episode 6 was, I think, maybe the best episode of TV I've seen in a long, long time.
Now, if you guys don't remember exactly what episode 6 was, we'll just kind of refresh your memory. It was the one where everybody was meeting in the funeral home, with Nell sitting lying in the casket, and all the siblings were arguing with each other and stuff like that. That was the episode we're talking about. I think it's called Two Storms or something, right? Yeah.
And it's the episode, most notably and important, where I'm pretty sure the entire 60-minute episode is, what, like 4 or 5 shots?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's famous because it was all a bunch of long takes.
And extremely long takes, too.
Like 15, maybe not 15 minutes, but like
10,
13.
Yeah, 10, 15 minutes in between there.
Which was amazing. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, God damn it, Mike Flanagan. You did it again.
You did it again.
And which is why I'm so excited for Doctor Sleep, directed by him. If you can
Oh.
do this on a TV budget
Mm-hmm.
with TV actors, even though, I mean, the actors in this movie, most of them were film actors as well, but it's like amazing because it blew me away when I first saw that episode 6. Like, honestly, even if we weren't doing TV, just Honey of Hill House episode 6 would be my number 2 for this year.
Yeah.
That's how good it was. And then obviously the whole rest of the season was also amazing, especially the end. Like, I think that with TV, the end, like the last 1 or 2 episodes are always the most important because if you don't nail that, it can ruin the entire thing
That's
or
true.
make the entire thing.
That's true.
And I really liked the ending of this show. I thought it was satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it tied up everything that we wanted to. I thought it told a complete story.
Yep.
And at the same time, like I said, I also just thought it was visually very cool, and I think it was nice being in that kind of gothic environment.
That's true. That is true. One thing I really liked about the series is the fact that they put the little Easter egg ghosts here and there in the background, and it always kind of created a sense of uneasiness, right? Like, I guess if you're to rewatch the show and just try to like look in the background, that's kind of scary to me. Like, things are lurking there and you don't even know.
It really made the house feel evil.
Yeah.
And it made when you were actually in the house really effective because you were on edge at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I mean, also, I just think it was also genuinely scary. Like,
oh, it hands down was. Like, even before like the scary shit happened, honestly, like when Nell was like in the funeral home, like in embalming and stuff, like that's, for me anyways, is really scary. And it happens, right? It happens like every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh my god, like this is actually kind of what happens to people when they die, and like, you know.
And I also really liked it because I felt it was in 2018 where everything's different and unique, and I just got over saying how good I thought Mandy was.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked Haunting Hill House because it just felt like a classic ghost story.
Yeah.
Like, it just felt like.
Well, essentially it is. It's based on a book, right?
But of course, they also do a good job of making it about family and making it about the dynamics of a family and how families deal with tragedy and how relationships between families are strained. But there are your family, so you always love them, but there's difficulties there. And then, of course, the fact that it was 2 different timelines. It was the past and then the present, and how those 2 interconnected and stuff. I just thought was brilliant.
Yeah, and how you can see like the characters grow from, you know, when they were kids, like the experiences that like had shaped them into the people that they've become. I thought that was really good. Also, just like the quality of acting, like between the kids and also like the adults in the movie or in the TV show, was just phenomenal. Mm-hmm. In my opinion. I give so much credit to that. Like, oh
yeah,
God, I think that The Haunting of Hill House should just be its own episode of the Spook Notes. Maybe in the future. Stay tuned.
Yeah, and I think it was just a good story, and it deserves to be seen. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix, obviously.
They're making a second one, right?
But I hope it's like it's a totally different story. Like, I hope it just doesn't connect at all.
I've heard it is.
That's good.
Yeah.
I don't mind getting another one. I'd totally watch it as long as.
Because you don't want things to become like redundant, right?
Yes.
Like, have you seen this, like all that?
Yeah. So it was just really good, and just check it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. This is it.
Marlena.
Number 1.
What is your number 1 for 2018?
My number 1.
Even though I'm pretty sure I know what it is.
Is Hereditary.
Okay. Before you go any further, just so we can both talk about it, Hereditary is also my number 1.
Oh, there we go. Great minds think alike.
There you go. Well, I guess it makes sense then.
Okay, perfect. Well, then, let's just go at it. And we'll
the Spook Notes podcast, best horror movie of 2018 is Hereditary.
That's right. Oh my god, high five. Yes. Okay, well, let's go. Let's talk about it. Why is it your number 1?
It is my number 1 because it was the most unique, scary, and well-made horror movie of 2018, hands down. Yeah. It's that simple.
Same.
It's that simple. it told a unique and original story that, while it has callbacks to horror films, classic horror films like The Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist and things like that, it's its own story. It's unique. It's something that we've never seen on film before. I think there were certain things in that movie that we've never seen on film before.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, for somebody who watches horror films almost daily, completely terrifying.
Oh, no, honestly, I don't get scared. I really don't. But this movie scared me so much. Like, we saw this movie in the theaters, and at one point I thought I was like, I might have to leave. Like, this is like, no, I'm serious, because like, the soundtrack in the movie, like the background music was so like, it gave me anxiety. Like, it made my heart race, and it's like, no other movies do that. Like, they maybe had some like underlying, like, I don't know, synth waves or something that would scare me, and it honestly, it did. So fucking terrifying. And just even like the imagery and the scenes in the movie, like, oh, the one scene that fucking terrifies me out of my mind is when she's like sawing her head off with that like
Wire.
the wire, and then also when her body floats up to the treehouse. Like, that is so scary, and I don't know why, but it's so scary
It's
because
visceral.
it looks
primal.
real. Yeah,
It's primal.
it looks real.
For me, I think there was images, like we said, I would say, like, when she was sawing her head off, when she was below the attic, banging her head against the thing.
Yeah.
When we saw Payman as a man in the corner, when I forget his name, when the sun was going downstairs in the dark, that where I think stuck with me the entire year. I was thinking about the entire year, and then obviously the horrific image of what's the girl's name again?
Oh God,
I can't remember her girl name.
Yeah,
but her head on the road covered in flies and stuff like that.
Yeah. Or even just like how she dies, right? It's like she's sticking her head, like, because that could happen to a real person.
And so, another
God.
thing that I really want to talk about that I think shows why this movie's at a different level than all the other movies we've talked about. Because there's one thing that we haven't really talked about too much, I feel like, in the other movies, that I definitely want to talk about here.
Okay.
Is I feel like this movie was made and was so good because of the acting. I think
true.
The main character, played by, oh God, I can't remember her name now. Which sucks.
Guys, it's our favorite movie. We can't remember anything.
It was a long time ago, which also goes to show that sometimes.
When did it come out? February?
No, I don't think it was that
May?
long ago. I think it was like May. Yeah. But yeah, she was amazing in the movie. That scene after the girl dies and she's like weeping and she's like screaming and she's like, I just want to die, is amazing. I think the scene at the dinner table where she like starts yelling at her son was amazing as well. Like, it's because of her the movie works so well, and then when she does finally turn evil, that like it's so much more effective. And then at the same time, I also really loved her son. Like, again, I go back to that scene where the girl dies, and there's like I feel like a 2-minute long shot where we're just looking at his face as he's realized what he's done.
Yeah.
And he can't even look in the back seat.
Because he just knows what happened, and it's just so terrifying, and it's like you, as an audience, don't even want to see. Because you already just know. Like, and also, just like, there's so much freaking symbolism in that movie. It's just like meta insane. Like, we like that kind of stuff, and we love just like analyzing all the little bits and pieces, and it's like, there's just so much. And we did a podcast on this movie, and it was just awesome. Like, oh.
That was a movie that I feel like you needed to talk about, and it is one that I think it may not have been the most commercially successful movie of this year, but like, I feel like it's going to be the horror movie that people are going to be talking about for a long time after, for years to come.
Well, absolutely. Like, any time people are like, yeah, like, Marlena, like, what horror movies should I watch? I'm like, Hereditary. That's the first one that comes to my mind. Seriously.
I don't recommend Hereditary to
Why?
people because I feel like whenever people ask me about horror movies, I want them to get into horror movies so more people are like liking and appreciate horror movies. I feel like if you saw Hereditary and had never watched a horror movie before, you would like throw up you'd be so scared. Like I'm like, no, watch like
Okay, well then maybe I'm
watch
just
like
evil.
Halloween, because that's like, it's scary and good, but it's still like you can still watch it to the end and like
Okay,
it.
true.
Like,
I can kind of see
Hereditary
where
is
you're
like
coming from here.
terrifying and haunting and like disturbing and messed up.
And
Like,
that's the thing. It's not even like super super gory. It's really not. But it's just
but when it is gory,
ideas
it's effective.
ideas and concepts, and it's like they just stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to watch this movie again. Like I'm serious. Like
Me too.
Yeah. Oh.
I just think that there's, like I said, we said ideas in it that are disturbing. The idea of the cult, the idea of the things they do to this boy, the son, the way they manipulate him. And
Also-
and then it's for like, I also like how the evil in this movie is evil, but it's like, it's a very human evil. Like, it's because they're all greedy, and basically Payman, the demon, promises them money and gold and riches.
Yep.
So it's almost like just like a human greed that's the cause of all this evil and horror, and as well as, and like the other thing, I could just keep going, but the fact that it's really about this one family. It's about different generations of family, the grandmother, the mother, the daughter, the son, the husband, and about how this kind of horror affects all of them and infects all of their lives.
Yep.
And affects them in different ways is really interesting. It's really about family dynamics, and also I think it's more honest about families than any movie I've seen in a long time. Like the mother, when she's like, I had a dream where I lit you up, like I doused you with kerosene and lit you on fire. I wanted you to die. Like that's.
And these kids are like, lol, okay.
What? But at the same time, she loves her children, but there's some evil in her head that like.
Well, I think that's just like with every parent. Maybe not like to the extreme, but like every parent. Well, I don't know. I'm not a parent yet, but I'm assuming that even as a whatever person, an adult, there are times where it's just like there's just some people that just irk you so bad, and it's like, what do I do? But like in reality, well, hopefully you're not that crazy that you're gonna act upon it. But it's very relatable, like the experiences and what she says. One thing I really, really liked this movie for too was its cinematography and the way they filmed it.
And its use of lighting too.
Yes, I thought that was very important. One thing that really stood out to me, and I actually didn't realize this until like about a month ago when I was just reading more up about Hereditary, was, okay, so when they do those like cut scenes where it's like night and day, in the night, you can actually see the cult members around that house. I didn't realize that. And I was like, holy shit, that's actually really scary. Like, what if you had people outside of your house that night just standing naked? Like, what?
And that's the other thing. I also, like, people often say, like, how a movie uses lighting to great effect. In this movie, it's almost the reverse. It's how it uses darkness.
Yeah.
Because I think of, like, the scene when she's in her, like, miniature room, and then she turns off the light, and there's her mother there.
Yeah.
And then she turns on, and she's not there. But it's like, it's not like, oh, her mother's standing there. It's almost like, you just see the idea of her mother, like the shape in the darkness, and you're not sure what it is, but you think you know, and you know what it is, even though it's not really there. And then it turns back on, and she's gone. Same thing again when and by the way, like, just that, I think that the climax of the movie, when the son's alone in the house at the end of the movie, is the singular best scene of horror in the entire year. Maybe in the last, like, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yep.
When he's walking around the house at night, when he first wakes up and you see something on the ceiling, and at first you're not sure what it is, and then as he moves slowly out of the room, it moves too. And you're like, oh god. Like, and then you see Payman in the background, and he's just standing by the door far away.
Yep.
Just looking.
Yep.
Terrifying.
Ugh.
So scary.
Hands down, best movie, 2018.
May
have been one of the best movies, probably the best horror movie I've ever seen in my life.
Nah, I wouldn't say that, but
well, it's up there. My top 5 of life.
Best movie of the year, definitely.
Yep.
Okay, so do you have any honorable mentions you want to talk about?
I sure do. Obviously, The Haunting of Hill House. I didn't know we were including that, but that's an honorable mention. Another, okay, I have 2. First one is the movie Cam, where you can find
That was also my honorable mention.
Oh my god, it's like we're the same person.
That would have been, if we had done a top 10, that would have been my number 6.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I really liked it because of its concepts and ideas, and it's just playing on like technology and the internet and all that stuff, right? You know, which is becoming more relevant, you know, in 2018, 2019, all that years in the future. And it's really scary if you think of it.
That was
like
terrifying.
Identity theft, but it's not even a real person. It's just
It's-
virtual type thing, and that's really scary.
And also, I liked how they didn't, in that movie, it's not really clear as to what it is. All it is, it's more the idea of it that's the scary part, and how you deal with that, and what do you do in that scenario. And the thing about that movie is, I was talking to a friend of ours who does YouTube, is that it's about cam girls and not sex workers, but like that kind of sexual aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it could almost be applied to anybody who makes content on the internet.
Yep.
YouTubers, people on Twitch, anybody who makes content on the internet.
Podcasters.
Well, not so much because there's a visual element to it.
Well,
you know what I mean.
You know, they could also replicate your voice.
Yeah, true. So, I just think it's really scary and really good for this year. Yeah. Absolutely.
My second one is the movie Endless.
The Endless. Oh yeah.
Is that yours too?
No.
No. I don't know. I really like the story just because it was really unique and it was something I hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it because of its whole time looping thing, and I thought that was like really good and effective, and also very scary because, especially with the one guy where he's caught in a 5-second time loop, like that would be horrible. If that, well, I'm pretty sure it exists because who knows what exists in the universe, and if that exists and that happened to me, oh my god, that would be so bad. I would just want to die, you know?
It's very high concept and very good, yeah.
So yeah, those are my two. What's your other one?
So mine one was Cam. I actually have 3. Sorry,
You have 3?
Well, because my other one was The Ritual, as you already talked about.
Oh, okay. Yep.
But my third one is another TV show, and one you didn't watch.
Oh, is it Sabrina?
It is Sabrina.
Listen, guys, I did watch it, and then I watched the rest of The Office again.
I really like Sabrina because it really made you like the characters in it, and it was fun because it was about teenagers and it's about witches and it's just fun and the characters are fun and you like it. But there's also real serious drama in that and real horror in that. There's a few.
Is there a real serious drama? Oh my god!
Stop.
What? Okay.
And there's actually real horror in it. Like, I just loved their depiction of the devil. I loved, oh my god. There's a few episodes where it's kind of like Monster of the Week almost, but it has this overarching story. I'm not going to say too much about it because I know Marlene didn't watch it, and she probably won't, but it's just, I really like Sabrina.
I will watch it
I
after
think
finish
that
The Office.
If you like kind of more fun horror, but also one with like good characters and stuff like that, then I think you'll like Sabrina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there you go.
All right.
So now, do you want to talk about some things we're looking forward to in 2019?
Yes. Okay, so I think we both agreed on a list of top 3.
And I'm pretty sure our top 3 are going to be very overlapping.
Much, probably. Okay, so I'm really excited. Are we just going to say them all like boom, boom, boom?
Yeah, and there's no order. Like, I didn't order mine.
Yeah, okay. So I'm really excited for It, Chapter 2.
That's on mine.
Pet Sematary.
That's on mine.
And Child's Play.
No, that's not on mine.
What's your third one?
My third one is the Creepshow TV show.
Okay.
That's coming to Shudder.
Yeah. I'm excited for that as well. It's just, I know we had to pick 3, and I was like, oh, Jesus, I don't know, the biggest ones, I guess.
Which is funny, because all mine are Stephen King related.
Lol.
And okay, so why don't you start with Child's Play? What about that are you excited about?
Well, okay, when I saw the OG Child's Play back in the day, that movie terrified me. I was so scared. I was like, oh my god, I have a doll in my house. It's gonna come to life. It's gonna kill me. So, I don't know. It's just like the nostalgia of it. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be actually, like, hopefully really good. And I just want to see how it's gonna compare to its original counterpart. Pretty much with all of those movies, really.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'll start with Creepshow. For me, Creepshow, on Shudder, is going to be amazing because Marlena knows I'm a huge fan of the original and Creepshow too. I love the original Creepshow. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Period. Um, and the fact that we're getting a new Creepshow. We're getting that style, that just like that comic book EC comic style, that horror mixed with humor and campiness and colorfulness is amazing. Um, Anthology TV shows are something I love. The fact that it's Greg Nicotero who's who's like co-creating, co-producing the show is going to be amazing because Greg Nicotero was the kind of like the student, the kind of apprentice to Tom Savini, who did the effects of the original.
Our boy, which we've met.
Yep.
Guys, I fist pumped him. It was really cool.
So I'm really looking forward to the new show. I think it's going to be awesome.
Quick question. Is Stephen King going to be actively involved in that at all? Do you know?
I don't know. I've heard that he may write an episode or something.
Oh, just one?
I think it's gonna be one max, maybe not even one.
Oh.
But I still think it's gonna be really cool if it still captures that same style as the original.
Yep.
So yeah. All right, so let's talk about the two we have in common. I think the two biggest two.
Is it
Pet Sematary and It Too.
Yeah. Okay, I'm really looking forward to the new Pet Sematary movie simply because I just finished reading the book Pet Sematary by Stephen King. And then I've seen the movie before, but I recently just refreshed my memory, so I've watched that again. The original movie. So I'm really, really looking forward to just seeing what 2018 or 2019 can bring for that movie. You know, how it's going to contrast to the original.
It'll be, by that point, it'll be 30 years since the original.
Wow.
So
hopefully they can get a better actor
for Lewis.
Yeah,
I think so. No, I'm also very interested in just seeing what they do differently from the original, what they add differently from the book, maybe what they do differently from the original book.
Yeah, I kind of want them to include more stuff from the book.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, like definitely the stuff like with the Wendigo and all that jazz. I want that to be featured.
And I think that it will. I think Pet Sematary most movies I feel like are better when they just do practical effects and things like that. Pet Sematary might be one of the only movies I can think of that I'm like, yeah, I actually am excited to see what they can do now with CGI, with like a bigger budget in 2019, with better technology, to make the Wendigo, to do things like that. So
also, I want it to be a little bit more gorier too.
Yeah,
than the original. Like okay, with the original movie, the best scenes, in my opinion, were the very end when you have Gage coming at him with the scalpel and all that. And Judd and all that stuff, like that in itself was really gory, but I think it could be even way worse. And that's, I don't know, maybe I'm just insane, but I want that.
Me too. Okay, and then what about It Chapter 2?
Well, you know, I thought It did a really, really good job.
The 2017 one?
Yeah, it did a really good job compared to like the miniseries in the 1990s. So I really, really liked that movie, and I feel like a lot of people did.
It was my favorite movie of 2017 on the Brain Damage blog.
Oh, no. Be sure to read that.
Yeah, at WordPress.com.
Yeah, .com.
But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to kind of like the continuation of that story and how it's all going to play out with the adults and how the adult actors are going to be. But I'm almost equally as excited to see like how the general audiences and the rest of the world's going to react, because It 2017 was such a huge thing. Like, so many people saw it. It was like the biggest horror movie of like, I don't know how long. Everybody saw that movie. So I'm now excited to see how people receive the sequel. Kind of like, because it's not often, I feel like It is unique in the sense that it's like, it was this big movie and it's going to get a sequel, but this is going to be it. There's not going to be another It, because this is just the second half of the story.
I hope not.
No, and
they're not going to do that like bougie bullshit where they break it into two to make more money.
No,
right?
no.
Okay.
I mean, they already broke the original. I mean, they already broke the book into two, but I think you cannot make the book.
It's a friggin' Bible.
Yeah.
So I think you have to.
You can't make that book into one movie.
Yeah.
One, like, 2-hour movie.
Super movie.
Yeah. So, I'm excited just to see how they do the rest of the story and if they nail it. Because I really did think, as somebody, you haven't read the book, but I have. And as somebody,
but I know what happens.
No, I know. But as somebody who does like the book a lot, it's my second favorite Stephen King book, I really did think that the 2017 movie did a good job of doing the children's storyline, and I'm just excited to see if they can nail the adult storyline as well.
That's true. But they're not going to include any like weird shit from the book, right?
I hope they do.
Are you serious? Like you know what I'm talking about, right?
Like the turtle.
Wait.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the gang banging.
Well, that was when they were kids, though.
Oh, so
that would have already
Oh.
that's already
Okay,
done.
good, because I'm like, that's a little weird.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited.
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well,
I'm pretty sure we've talked your ear off about
Mhm.
everything. So yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed our list. Let us know what your lists are. You can email us at spooknotes@gmail.com. You can leave a comment on this thing wherever you are listening to it. Let us know what your lists are. Let us know if you have similar lists.
Or if they differ completely.
Why don't, before we go, so that we can remind our audience, quickly go down your list again, 5 to 1.
So for me, it was going from 5 to 1. The Terrifier,
Mm-hmm.
The Ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, what did I talk? Damn it. Give me 1 second. Jeez. The Terrifier, The Ritual, A Quiet Place, Halloween, and Hereditary.
Mm-hmm. For me, it was Revenge, Halloween, Mandy, The Haunting of Hill House, and Hereditary.
Pretty solid list, if you ask me.
I'm glad we both had the same number 1.
Yeah, me too. I kind of figured, because we talk about this movie so much, that you know, it had to get number 1. But yeah, we really hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we're really looking forward to what 2019 brings for the horror community.
Yes.
So, well, I guess we'll see you next year. Cha-ching! And as always, don't forget to cite the spook notes. Bye!